Hello, Missouri. My name is Sara Gelser. I am a state senator in Oregon, where I chair the Human Services Committee. My work over the past several years has been to bring transparency and accountability to the industry that is sometimes referred to as the troubled teen industry, sometimes referred to as the youth residential care industry. I look at it as an industry that is totally underregulated and incredibly dangerous for youth. Sadly, earlier this year in January, I traveled with state officials to Lakeside Academy in Michigan. Lakeside is run by Sequel Youth and Family Services. I had been talking to Sequel for quite some time about the dangers of these programs, and specifically about the use of dangerous restraints that impede the safety and sometimes even the breathing of kids against whom they're applied to. I shared with the officials there, the Sequel officials, that I believed that these restraints were dangerous, and if the practices weren't changed, someone would become seriously injured or they might die. Sadly, a few months later, just yards from where I made those comments, Cornelius Frederick was put in a restraint after he threw a sandwich. He was killed by that restraint. On May 1st, he died. He was 16 years old. Many people want to see that as an unusual occurrence, as something that is a rare outcome that was the result of staff that behaved outside the norms of the facility. Unfortunately, we know that that's not true. We know that at Lakeside, at Sequel facilities, at facilities all across the country, what Cornelius experienced was typical. Every day, kids are put in those types of restraints, and every day, kids are led to believe that they deserve it, that they can't speak out about it, and that they will face consequences if they push back. The only thing that was different about Cornelius's experience that day was that he died. It is remarkable that more kids have not. And that is why we absolutely must hold this industry accountable for what they are doing and the harms that they are visiting to children. It makes no sense that kids who have committed no crimes, who have never been adjudicated, are taken and put in places where they lose all of their civil liberties. They have to ask for permission about who they can talk to, about who they can look at, about when they can go to the bathroom, whether or not they can express whether or not they like the food that they are eating. And although that is very different than a physical restraint or a seclusion, that is a restraint of the spirit. That is a restraint of individuality. And the injury that comes from that lasts not just for days or months or years, but for decades. This has to stop. In Oregon, we have tried to do that by increasing the standards that we require these programs to be held to. We have passed laws that eliminate the use of conversion therapy. We will have legislation in this upcoming session to eliminate the use of restraint in residential programs. We require unannounced visits to all of these programs by licensors. We require licenses to be revoked if parents and attorneys and advocates are not allowed to access all areas of the facility at any time they show up. What we need is for states to talk to each other, to share the information they have about restraints, about injuries, about licensing, so that people really know what is happening inside these facilities. Now, I know that earlier this week there was a hearing with the Missouri legislature, and that committee heard the stories of brave individuals talking about the problems in Missouri. And I am delighted that those members said that they believe those that testified and they want to take action. What I am asking all of you to do, whether you are from Missouri or another state, is not just accept someone saying that they believe you. Demand that they take real action. There are some things that can be done immediately that should not be compromised. Number one, there should be no religious exemption. There is no religious basis for child abuse, period. All staff should have background checks. All staff should be held to basic safety standards. All staff should be held accountable to only using restraint when there is an imminent risk of serious injury or death to a child or someone else. legislatures can do that. The industry will try to stop them. They will say, if you regulate us, if you tell us that we can't have non-disclosure agreements, if you tell us we have to do background checks, if you make it more difficult for us to restrain kids, to inject them with medications, we'll close and there will be no place for these kids to go. That's simply not true. A bad bed is not better than no bed. Capacity does not justify child abuse. Religion does not justify child abuse. So I urge you all to keep talking, keep speaking, tell your stories. Every single one of you that tells your story inspires and gives confidence to another survivor to tell their story. Get your records, share the documentation, and come to people like me and hold me and my colleagues accountable. We pass the laws. We need to pass laws that support youth, that lead to healthy outcomes for youth. Our job is not to prop up an industry that builds itself on profiting on the abuse of children. Our job is to protect youth, to deliver appropriate services, and to make sure that state licensing agencies are communicating, that they are honest, and they recognize their job, their loyalty is to the youth, not to these industries. This industry must be stopped. Thank you to everyone that is stepping up to do this work. I stand ready to be your ally and look forward to working with you and with legislators in all states to just get some basic protections. And again, elimination of restraint, background checks for everyone, and no more of these religious exemptions. Religion is never an excuse for child abuse. Enjoy the rest of your rally and the advocacy this weekend, and keep moving forward. This can be done. You can make it happen. Thanks.